With all these new leader bikes being released and updated, it seemed that it was only a matter of time before Suzuki got its piece of the pie. Well, today we are going to look at the all-new 2017 Suzuki GSXR 1000. We're going to jump right into this video with the specifications, and then I'll give my personal opinions at the end. First, let's start with the power. This year's GSXR 1000 is getting a considerable bump in power from 189.9 horsepower to about 199 horsepower. Also, redline is increased to 14,500 RPMs, and the wet weight of this bike should be around 445 pounds for the ABS model, but we'll get back into that later. For a quick comparison, the new R1 has 200 horsepower and 439 pounds wet. The new Fireblade is going to have just under 190 horsepower and 430 pounds wet, and the Kawasaki ZX-10R has 197 horsepower and weighs in at 454 pounds. And the BMW S1000RR has 199 horsepower and weighs in at 449 pounds wet. That's right, the Suzuki GSXR 1000 will have a better power to weight ratio than the BMW S1000RR. Okay, back to the specifications. The engine is completely redesigned to achieve that magic 199 number, but also Suzuki did it while maintaining their well-renowned strong low to mid-range performance. They were able to achieve this bump in horsepower by adding the Suzuki Racing Variable Valve Timing SR-VVT system, which was trickled down from the MotoGP bikes. Another quick tidbit, the interesting thing about technology is that it actually does trickle down with these bikes. First, the MotoGP bikes get the latest and greatest, and then after a few years we start to see the technologies find their way into the top-end supersport bikes, and then a few more laters after that we start to see them into the baby 600s as well. Now back on track. How does the VVT system work? I don't really know, but sportrider.com does, and here's a quote from their well-written article about the brand new 2017 GSXR 1000. The system uses a simple small device that is attached to the outside of the intake cam, where centrifugal force pushes steel balls along the grooves to rotate the sprocket and retard intake valve timing at a specific RPM. This results in additional power at high RPMs. Anyway, there are many other minor engine improvements, including thinner wall valve trains and hollow camshafts. Apparently Suzuki has been able to make the engine smaller too. They were able to shrink the engine down by 6.6 millimeters, and that's with having a bigger cylinder bore. They also changed the angle of the engine to help centralize the weight of the engine to be more towards the front wheel to help improve the feel of the front end. There are so many different small engine updates that will affect performance that I will not be able to get to in this video. Just know that there's a lot of technology that went into this engine, and as a result it's keeping its awesome low to mid-range power, but it's also gaining an extra 10 horsepower on the top end, giving this bike the ability to compete with the R1 and S1000RR. In order to control all this power, Suzuki has added tons of electronics. This includes a 3-axis 6-direction inertial measurement unit, along with other sensors that will send data to a 32-bit electronically controlled module that will control the 10-level traction control system, which Suzuki calls the Motion Track TSC. Suzuki announced that they will have a Suzuki Drive Mode Selector, which is just selectable rider power modes, which will allow you to reduce the horsepower to the rear wheel. The older Suzukis featured this as well. Suzuki has also added an easy start system, which allows the rider to just press the start button once and the bike will automatically turn the engine until it fires, and then it adjusts the idle speed according to how cold it is outside. It's a very unique feature that is not seen on the other bikes. There is also a low RPM assist feature that automatically increases the RPMs when stopped or during slow riding to help prevent you from stalling. Suzuki has also added a new electronically controlled steering damper. Weight has been reduced from 448 pounds to 441 pounds. Now that's for the non-ABS version. If you get the ABS version, then it will be 445 pounds. Suzuki was able to achieve this by making the frame lighter and the bike more narrow. The swing arm is also slightly lengthened by 40 millimeters to help improve the handling. The suspension is the same as the previous generation, which is a Showa big piston fork and a Showa shock. The brakes also remained untouched with the Brembo monoblock radial mount calipers. However, the Brembo discs have been increased from 310mm to 320mm. Now let's look at the dash unit. It seems that all the new leader bikes are switching over to an LCD display now. The RPM gauge wraps around the top much like the R1. It also features a gear indicator, trip meter, and a miles per gallon calculator. Oh, and look at this, a fuel gauge, making this the only Japanese leader bike that actually has a fuel gauge. Up at the top we see what appears to be a shift light as well. Now onto the looks of this bike. I will admit I've never really been a GSXR fan in terms of looks. Well, aside from the 2008 GSXR 600, which looks gorgeous. But other than that, I never really cared for the looks. but I do admit that the new GSXR 1000 looks very interesting. First, I'm going to start with what I like about the bike. I do really like the front end. Suzuki still keeps their weird alien eye in the front, but it's accompanied with the two LED lights on the side that look awesome. Also, those two giant air ducts on the sides look really aggressive. The bodywork has that classic sport bike look, which I am starting to see go away with the other bikes, but not with this one, and I'm really happy about that because it does look stunning. I especially like the tail section too. Now onto the back. Oh man, look at this. What in the... This exhaust is so big. I mean, okay, don't get me wrong, I get it. They need to meet the Euro 4 emissions, but none of the other Japanese bikes look this horrendous. It's so big and so funny looking. I imagine it weighs a lot too. Now, this isn't a huge deal because everyone just gets rid of their stock exhaust anyway. The older GSXR 1000s had integrated turn signal mirrors. Why did Suzuki do away with this? At least they replaced it with this thin turn signal that sticks out on the side. Wait, what? What are these images here? A big ugly bulb? Why? Oh no, Suzuki. I think I know what's happening. I think that this might be the Euro version and the big ugly bulb is the US version. Ah man, Suzuki, why didn't you just leave it in the mirrors? And alright everyone, that's all there is about this new GSXR 1... Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Oh yeah. And you thought that was it, didn't you? Wrong. Much like the R1 and the R1M and the Fireblade SP and SP2, Suzuki has the all-new 1000 and the 1000R. Everything previously listed was referring to the GSXR 1000, but now let's talk about the GSXR 1000R. The 1000R gets a Showa balance-free fork, and the rear suspension is a Showa balance-free rear cushion, a BFRC light shock absorber, and both of these work together by equalizing oil pressure below the solid piston to improve performance and feel. They also added the race-inspired electronics package, which gives you launch control and a bi-directional quick shifter, which means it works with ups and downshifts. They also added a lightweight triple clamp and a battery to help reduce weight savings even more. And that's it. There's really no big difference between the 1000 and 1000R. All you are really getting is a slightly better suspension and launch control and a quick shifter. Suzuki has yet to release any pricing information, but we do know that the bikes will be available in May of 2017 and the ABS versions will be released at a later date in June. My personal opinion. I do really like the looks, but I'm not in love with them. On paper, this bike competes very well and seems to have probably the best power to weight ratio. But my personal opinion is that all the leader bikes perform so closely within one another that for a street rider like myself, it really doesn't matter the difference between a few horsepower. So I believe that personally you're better off just choosing the leader bike that you think looks nicest, the one that really just speaks to you and the one that you really just are in love with the looks. And for me personally, that's not the Suzuki GSXR 1000. It is a fantastic bike and that is just my opinion. Others might feel differently about it and I'm sure they will, and that's why they'll probably sell very well. Well everyone, that's it for the GSXR 1000 and 1000R. I'm going to make more videos similar to this one, so if you enjoyed it, then subscribe to see more in the future. Thanks again everyone for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.
Let me live my life, the one I'd better lead. All the blondes of fantasies, and we looked at them 11 ways. You said, look